Hello YouTube, Intuitive Edge. Tonight I would like to look at the Syrian gas attack and what's been going on over there. For those of you who are familiar with my readings, the way I generally do them is lay out the cards and kind of see what story develops. I want to do this reading a little bit differently. What I'd like to do is I'm going to lay out cards representing players, nation states, and get a feel for the energy around them in relation to this attack. And then I'll work on kind of narrowing that down a little bit to see which nation state may be either responsible or just how they feel toward this attack. So, okay, so let me set aside my candle. I'm going to shuffle up the cards here. So give me just a moment while I shuffle up. I shuffled a little bit, but I'm going to shuffle a little bit more and then lay out my spread. So give me just a moment. Okay. All right. So what I want to look at is, I want to look at Assad, who is the leader of Syria. We have the worry card, the fear card, the oppressive fear and worry. Okay. This one represents Israel. This is a major arcana. This is the floating cat. This is releasing something to gain something, giving up something to gain something. This is a strategic card in some respects. Let's see what else we get. This card is Iran. Now, again, I'm just feeling the energy of these countries that I'm listing and their energy toward this gas attack and possible level of responsibility if that comes up. We'll see. The Ace of Fire being on Iran is very interesting. That's a card of aggressive, forward-moving energy. It's a yes. It's a moving forward. I don't know. I'm not saying that implicates Iran with this gas attack. Let's continue and see what the cards continue. This is the United States. Now let me make sure that you guys can see these cards all right. So I might run out of room. I've got a couple more countries listed here. So Five of Fire, this is a card of infighting. It's squabbling over territory, trying to gain the upper hand, gain positive ground. This is infighting, which is interesting on the United States. Okay, all right, Russia. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Russia. Russia. We've got the Fool card reversed. This is a card of somebody trying to mind their own business. But it can be kind of naivete at the same time. All right, two more here. This is I kind of lumped a few together. This is Iraq, Turkey, and Egypt. I just kind of wanted to lump those together, not make this too drawn out. Interesting, we have the consequences card. Actions have consequences. This also feels to me like not wanting to get involved, or that there's some level of like not my problem, not my issue. That's the feeling I get with it. Saudi Arabia got the Four of Sky, and it's kind of like hiding out, like being discreet, taking time out. That's very interesting. Let me move these a little more. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out a few more cards on top of these just to depict any more insight or level of involvement, more level of involvement with these countries who might be responsible. And again, I do have Syria included in these. I'm not going to say that there's, that this was a false flag, but it does appear that the whole thing is very suspect. But let's just continue. Okay, Assad, Syria. I've got the Four of Earth. This is a card of losing control over something, not having the control, wanting to appear like you've got things under control, but not having the control. It's like it's a losing battle, this card, upside down. It's like losing control. Fear of losing control. Fear card, having lost control, basically. That's interesting there. Israel, again, Israel, the floating cat, giving up something to gain something. And then we've got the priest reversed. Boy. And they're both, these are both major arcanas. The priest is about coming together, conformity, bringing sides under a social order or religious order, generally speaking. Being a reversal of that card is kind of the negative side of a force, like a controlling force, like bringing out the negative side of a controlling force, giving up something to gain something in a negative. I would have to do some more, focus in a little more on Israel, but this is looking kind of suspect to me, that either they may have some sort of involvement, or they're possibly seeing it as a strategic way for them to get an upper hand of some sort. And there's so much that we don't know behind the scenes that goes on, that we don't see and we don't know. Players that would probably surprise us if we knew the truth. But having two major arcanas on that, and the way those are both laid out, I find that very, very highly interesting, we'll put it that way. This is Iran. Iran might have some skin in the game too, with that Ace of Fire. And the Tower card, this is a card of bringing something down. Being involved in something that is destructive, with a forward energy, a really strong moving forward energy on a destructive energy with forward movement. Very interesting for those players as well. United States. Interesting, we have two fives. We have the 5 that was this squabble, this infighting, and now we have another 5. This 5 is like odd man out, somebody getting singled out, and again, fighting. This is a fighting card. I want to say that there are people in the United States government that there's a lot of fighting going on over this. I might do one more card on top of these and do the leaders. These are the like the country, but the actual leader, because this feels like there is disagreements big time over this whole thing, and it's fighting over it. Trump possibly at odds with others, maybe on response or what to do, how to handle this, how not to handle this, whether to respond, whether not. This is both of these together. Fight. There's a fight going on. Okay. Russia. Got a 5 here on Russia. Russia had the Fool underneath, kind of, leave us out of it, kind of bliss. And this is like, this to me feels like getting dumped on or blamed for something. And feeling like you are getting dragged into, this feels like being dragged into something and having to deal with, if you look at the imagery of this cat fell into this pool, and cats generally don't like to fall into pools of water. At least the cats I've ever known get pretty ticked off when that happens. And so this is like having to deal with a setback or some sort of loss, but it feels like getting dragged into something and having to deal with it. Okay. Iraq, Turkey, Egypt. Again, I lumped those guys together. Got a messenger card on top of that. Again, this was the consequences card and the feeling like that's just, it feels like it's not my problem, it's somebody else's problem to deal with. That's the feeling I get with it. Messenger card is, there may be some news or movement coming out of one of those countries with regard to this. We'll see what that pulls out as. Saudi Arabia, again, this was like not my problem. Again, it's that feeling. A 4 of Sky and a Sky Queen, both reversed. The Sky Queen reverse, she can be very, this is an energy that's very, can be devious, smart player, but looks out for herself and her best interest. But watching, I feel like this is like waiting, like watching and seeing what other people are going to do before you make your move or before you react or or make a move. It's like this is an energy of watching strategically, seeing it from afar, but being very deliberate in paying attention to what's going on. Again, the two most suspect on this, I would say, are Israel and Iran. And this, to me, being Assad, Syria up here, feels like that country's lost a measure of control, or that resources are. This is I want to say like a stockpile of resources, or having to worry about resources being plundered. And I don't know if that's referring to the chemical weapons. But this feels like a loss of control. These feel like there's something to gain, and there's forward movement on Iran's part. Okay. I was gonna pull a couple more, maybe not all of them, but I want to look at specifically at the leadership. So I want to look at the leadership for Iran. I'm sorry, not Iran. Assad. This is Assad. We've got the Eight of Sky. This is, wow, this is sad to me. We have the Eight of Sky. This is like being boxed in, a prisoner of your own making. It's like creating your own hell, really. And having forces beyond your control, at least that's how it feels to you at the time, that you're hemmed in, you're boxed in, and it's like that's where the fear of this loss of control. That's just terribly sad. Yeah. Netanyahu, this is a card of forward movement again, moving something strategically, getting something across the finish line, doing something with a purpose in mind. That's what that card is. It's a messenger card. Again, very interesting. Iran, again, I'm sorry, I don't recall the name of the leader over there off the top of my head, but leader of Iran. This is somebody who's focused on value. What's in it for me? What value can I take from this? And when you have that forward energy with the ace and the tower, the destructive energy following it, and then this, what value can I take from it? One more I wanted to do was, I may do another one beyond that, but let's do Donald Trump. 10 of C. This is actually a very positive card. One of the more positive cards in the deck. And what I find is interesting, we have these two fighting cards, and then I've got this card of harmony, happiness, joy, peace, pulling together. And the imagery on this card is a cat family. It's like mom and dad cat and all the kittens, and everybody's happy. And then there's this one little kitten over here who's chewing on the parent's tail. But what's interesting about the 2-5s, the 2-5s infighting, and then we have a 10, like a completion card. 5 plus 5 is 10. We've got the 10 that is like the strength over all of this fighting. So, I want to say Donald Trump has a positive, whatever the infighting is, I don't think Donald Trump is part of this, the icky infighting energy, that it feels like he's got a more level sense about how to move forward and what to do. So, I mean, looking at him specifically and getting this card, there's a measure of composure. So we'll see what happens. But there's definitely, whether it's in his cabinet or in Congress or somewhere in the leadership, there's a lot of fighting. All right. Who should we look at next? Let's look at Russia. Vladimir Putin. Wow. Interesting. This is a card of sadness and kind of like just being really sad, like, and on top of that card of, you know, having to be dragged into something that you don't want to deal with, and then just being just sad about it, sad over it. Interesting. All right. Guess we'll keep going. Leadership on these three countries: Iraq, Turkey, Egypt. Fire Queen. That's just, again, she's a creative, balanced, looking forward, but she's reversed. In fact, all three of these are. We had a messenger, consequences, messenger, and then the Fire Queen. Interesting. Interesting. Last card, Saudi Arabia. I want to take one more look at that. 9 of Fire. This is the card of the planning something. Like a roundtable discussion, but looking at this from the reversal point of view, it's like, and again we had the Sky Queen, the watching from afar, on top of that, kind of wanting to just hide away. This doesn't feel as involved as these two up here, and something going on with the U.S. too. All right. Overall, this is each of these countries is like trying to be one step ahead of the wave of what's coming, the tidal wave, staying ahead of the energies of this, keeping ahead of the others. It's about balance, strategic planning, looking ahead, trying not to be the last man out. We shall see what comes of this. I hope that this good energy on Donald Trump can help him keep a level head so that we don't get dragged into a war. I think there are factions that see destruction and war as an option, and I'm hoping that this will keep the United States level-headed and keep that infighting to a minimum so that we don't get dragged in. Somehow Russia's reluctantly involved, or reluctantly, there's something about them being reluctant about their involvement or being dragged into something. So anyway, I'm gonna leave that for now. We shall see what happens. It's a whole mess of cards. Thanks for being willing to stay with me as long as you have. I appreciate you watching. If you like my work, please like and subscribe. And wow, that looks like a mess, doesn't it? All these cards out. All right. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.